Okay. So we are going to go ahead and get started. So good evening, Blue Jays and Blue Jay families. Thank you so much for joining us for the Hop Back In webinar series. My name is Emily Dion. I go by she, her pronouns. My work supports families of Hopkins students, including communication, programs, and services. So tonight I want to welcome you all and thank you for joining us. This is the second Hop Back In series webinar that we're doing in our series. It's intended to help students and families return to Hopkins and answer any questions that you all may have. So all of the webinars in this series are recorded, and the recording will be posted on our website in a few days after tonight's presentation. You will find the recording where you found the registration link. In tonight's webinar, we have two wonderful representatives from Health Promotion and Wellbeing and Life Design Lab to share opportunities for students in their future planning and how they are supported as they face stress in mapping out their major and career. So there is a Q&A feature at the bottom of the webinar. Feel free to ask questions throughout the entire webinar, and we'll do our best to answer them at the end once the presentation is complete. If we're unable to answer your questions, just send us an email at bluejayfamilies@jhu.edu. We'll put that in the chat so you can make sure to contact us after if you have additional questions. But yeah, so now to get us started, I would like to introduce Ashley Shantz, Senior Director for Undergraduate Education with the Life Design Lab.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Great to be here with you. As Emily mentioned, I am the Senior Director for Life Design and Career Readiness and excited to dive in with you here today. Next slide. One more. Awesome. Okay, so what is life design? Oops. Life Design Lab is basically our approach to integrative learning and career readiness and professional development. We utilize the process of design thinking to explore and access professional networks, career opportunities, to intentionally design lives that align with their values, identities, and aspirations. By engaging with the Life Design Lab, which is a modern take on a career center, throughout your time here at Hopkins, you will kind of engage in processes that help you get curious about who you are, what's important to you, where you're thriving. We're gonna ask you to imagine possibilities. Many of our Hopkins students come in kind of with one clear goal and vision in mind, which is great. That's how you got here. Y'all are strivers and high achievers. And the world of work is like fast-paced, constantly moving, constantly evolving. There are jobs that will exist when you are ready to graduate that don't currently exist. And so we want you to imagine possibilities and kind of stay on the evolving edge of that. We want you to build experiences that help you prepare for that future, whatever it may entail. And we want you to be able to have the skills to talk about that. Next slide. Okay, so this presentation is really about managing stress related to career exploration and readiness. And I think one of the biggest things that we can do to help manage some stress and feel prepared for that is know have a real sense of what you are walking into in terms of the career landscape, so that you can name what's needed, know what's needed, and come up with a plan that helps you feel successful along the way. A big part of that is addressing some of the myths that we know our students have. So we'll do some myth versus reality. Okay. All right. So myth number one, even with an internship, there will not be any jobs available when you graduate. Next. This is a myth. Um, we know that, there's a slump in the job labor market right now. About 14.4% decreasing hires according to NACE 2026 environmental scan. That is a bit larger than what we're seeing, than what we've seen over the past 5 years or so. A lot of that has been attributed to AI, but there is a little bit of some over attribution to AI. What we're finding is about 60% of employers are seeking to maintain their hires, and about 25% are seeking to increase their hires. It's just shifting the market a little bit and helping us redefine what our employers are seeking. So we're in a transition period. Most employers say that AI won't replace jobs. That's about 61%. 14% are having conversations about what the role of AI will look like within the workforce. Many are, again, suggesting that it's not going to replace the workforce, but we are still figuring out what the new relationship to work looks like as we integrate this emerging tool into our day-to-day lives. So while there might be a slight shift, more so related to, tariffs, federal layoffs, downsizing, government shutdowns, and kind of the general fear around what to expect or what to anticipate, we're finding that overall long-term outlook for college-educated workers is positive. Next myth, please. GPA is the most important factor in securing an internship. Let's find out. Ne- Awesome. So, really, what is the most important that all of our employers are seeking is skill demonstration. The number one skill is we know you can do the work, but can you talk about it? Can you make this clear to us of the value that you're bringing to the workplace and draw direct connections to the experiences you're bringing and the work you have ahead? Um, we also find that micro credentials are going a long way. About 72% report of employers reported that they're more likely to hire candidates that have additional micro credentials. And this is really important because while your major allows you to take a deep dive in a discipline, we know the world of work is not so siloed. It's interdisciplinary. And so some of this micro credentialing helps you learn a different skill set and stand out above some of the other applicants. Almost 70% of respondents are saying that they're using skill-based hiring. So we really want to make sure you know how to speak to those skills. Next myth. Only big name internship count. I hear this all the time. Let's find out. That's not true. What we're finding that though is that there is a little bit of an internship shortage right now. We're seeing an overabundance of applicants, particularly in some of these big name internships. It's something that all of our students are seeking primarily, but the reality is there's a lot of benefits to smaller and mid-sized firms that we're really encouraging our students to explore. One, it helps take off some of the pressure, but you have a really good experience within those organizations. 41% of students report higher satisfactions related to direct mentorship, to visible hands-on experience, to having a real impact on the organization and the business outcomes compared to the national average. We are also seeing that a lot of those smaller firms might have a higher intern conversion rate, meaning intern to hire. What's the next myth? So you need to have an internship to be competitive. Let's see if that's true. I think you're sensing a theme here. What we're really looking for is what helps boost your employability is real world application, skill building, networking, and professional competence. Internships are a really good way to hit all of those buckets, but we know there are other ways, including micro internships, so short-term work with a company. Maybe they just have a brief project that they they're looking for some consultation or some support on, volunteering, creating your own independent projects. We see this a lot within software engineering, particularly as we're looking to upskill and code with AI. You can do a lot of independent projects on platforms like GitHub. And student leadership goes a really long way. It shows a lot of the workplace skills that you will need to demonstrate. You actually get a lot of those when you're leading others in your student organization, setting missions, holding meetings, uh, setting objectives, figuring out how we're measuring and meeting those objectives. You see that in those student leadership positions. We just want you to be able to articulate them. Okay, next myth. If you miss early timelines, you're out of luck for internships. Well, let's see if that's a reality. This is slightly true for some of the top employers in competitive industries, Wall Street, finance, consulting, big tech. Um, if you miss those deadlines, like many, like finance, for example, are really looking for first year and sophomore applicants for the following years. Um, if you miss those opportunities, there are always opportunities within those sectors at mid-size and smaller companies, again, which you might gain even more valuable experience doing. We'll help you with that. Next myth. Students just need to work harder to succeed. I feel like you know what this will shape out to be. Oh, we skipped one, sorry. Oh, okay. Maybe it didn't tran maybe we're just having trouble with the. Okay, so the reality is no. It looks like it didn't copy over. That's my bad. Students don't just need to work harder. There's a lot that you have going on. There's a lot of needs that we're working with. We just want to make sure that you know about the resources that are available to you, know how to tap into them, and can think strategically about how to add them or integrate them into your schedule. Next slide, please. Here's what we're hearing from some of our employers. Again, this is not intended to scare you, but to inform you and equip you so that it feels less scary because you have the information you need. Our employers love Hopkins students, especially on paper. They see that you have the skills and the experiences that would be worthwhile. Where we struggle is that articulation, which, as I mentioned, was one of the number one things that our employers are looking for in that interview process. This is sometimes hard for high achievers and really smart individuals. I think one, it feels like, well, I don't want to brag. And many of us who are like committed to our work want the work to speak for itself and assume it will. Unfortunately, it won't. So we want to give you opportunities to practice articulating your impact. Whether you do that with our office or elsewhere, there's lots of opportunities to practice that. Connect that impact to the next role that you're applying to. And, um, when it comes to interviewing, some of it is like what happens outside of the questions, the formal questions. How are you showing some personality presence so that they really get to know you as a human first and as a candidate second? Next slide. Okay, so what is Life Design doing to address that? We have a number of programs, starting with Future Fest, which will be held, the kickoff, I believe, is September 5th this year through September 18th. If you don't know where to start at Future Fest. It will plug you into everything you need to know for the rest of the year. We have industry series where we take deep dives into exploring different industries, meeting alumni through networking, having employer coffee chats, having employer fairs. We do intercession treks and explore tours where we actually go and visit employers so you can get a feel for what it's like to work there. And then there's lots of mentorship. Next slide, please. How to prepare your application materials. There's a tool called VMock that helps with both application resumes and interviews. We have drop-in hours Monday through Thursday, 1 to 5 year round. And then we have application workshops embedded into some of our programming throughout the entire year. Next slide. How to identify job opportunities, internship opportunities. The first stop is Handshake, where employers nationally plug in to seek college students and early graduates. We have career fairs both in the fall and in the spring, along with placement programs in the spring, including Jobs for Jays. And then there are some employer-specific events embedded into our signature initiatives. Next slide. Optimizing your experience. So, how to kind of take it to the next level. We offer scholarships for internship or applied experiences to offset the cost of living, knowing that many of these internships are unpaid. Students who receive that funding are enrolled in a zero tuition, one credit um, course that allows them to figure out how to make the most of this experience and leverage it to the next opportunity, and really stand out in that experience. We also offer a number of asynchronous resources. One is called the Foundations Portal that walks you through from start to finish what it looks like to navigate your life design and career journey while you're here at Hopkins. Next slide, please. Ultimately, what I'm hoping you take away with you today is that one of the myths that I didn't address is that the Career Center is a place I only go to in my junior or senior year, or only when I'm trying to secure an internship. And instead, we're encouraging students to begin thinking about their career success as like one factor in their health. When we think about holistic wellness, there's a lot of things that we include there. We include spiritual wellness, we include financial wellness. There's also career wellness that requires some success habits, just like some of those other areas of wellness. We look at people who we aspire to be, and from our vantage point, it looks like they got there overnight or they had one big break. But they will all tell you it's just a series of small steps that you and habits that you build into how you show up in the world, including as many of our alum will tell you, getting curious, showing up with that eagerness as you engage with people around you. Networking, though it's a scary word, is really just, are you leveraging the opportunities you have to make connections with the people around you in ways that allow you to get inspired, allows you to find, common ground, and see how you can support one another. And we can help you figure that out here in the Life Design Lab. So if you don't know where to start, two things: attend Future Fest in September and meet with your life design educator. Actually, three things. And read your newsletter. You will be getting many messages from us. It's easy to kind of push those aside as something to think about later, but I would really encourage you to set aside like an hour each week to think about maybe what am I doing to help myself continue to grow and advance in the areas that I'm aspiring to grow after graduation. And with that, I'd love to, as we introduced wellness, soft launched it, I'd love to introduce our next speaker, Megan Tassinari. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Ashley. So, hi, everybody. My name's Megan. I'm the health educator for Homewood, mostly working with our undergraduate students. And as Ashley mentioned, there are a lot of factors that go into well-being, and professional well-being is actually one of ours. We operate on 8 of them. If we could slide down to, let's see, I think 24 is where mine starts. So with the elements of well-being, our office's framework is it's a wheel. It's 8 elements: professional, financial, environmental, spiritual, social, sexual, emotional, mental, and then physical. Skip the most common one first. But our team, we work heavily focusing on prevention, which means our job is to keep you well or get you back to well when you're not feeling at your best. We are within one of 4 offices under student health and well-being. So we are I basically refer to them as our sibling offices, but primary care, which is just like your medical services, mental health services, and then student disability services are our 3 counterparts or sibling offices. And we all get to work really closely together, which is great. Our office for health promotion and well-being is in the rec center on level 2. It's the recreation and well-being suite. If you go in and just tell them you're looking for well-being, they'll be able to direct you. If you're familiar with the rec center, it's the first door on the very right that goes up a staircase. That's where you'll find us. And our team, we're there from 8:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. And then our team has 2 branches. One is health education, and then the others are gender-based violence prevention. So my half is the health education section. So if we could go to the next one. So just to give you an overview of what our team is, and then I know there's a lot of like logos on this, I'll explain them. But our associate director, my direct supervisor is Caress Roach. And then Carol Spencer is my counterpart. She does work with undergrads. If you are involved with a few of these programs, you'll probably get to meet her. She's primarily at a different campus, but she is available too as well. So this QR code in the top right corner of the screen it'll take you to a web page that's all of our services, including the ones that have the graphics here. So underneath that is Johns Hopkins. Sleep is a really, really important piece of stress management and professional well-being. And this may be a surprise to no one. Hopkins students don't get the best sleep. So one of the things that we do is we have our sleep kits. If you haven't received one, you can request one. They're free. They're a little black pouch that have an eye mask and earplugs, and they say Johns Hopkins. It's very cute. And that's just like a really easy way to start setting yourself up for better stress management, professional performance, academic performance, all of it. And then right below that is the QPR Institute. And QPR is Question, Persuade, Refer. It's a quick, I think it's an hour total training that's kind of a suicide prevention-esque, but it's more, not so much focused on intervening as much as where to refer people and how to handle the situation. So it's not like mental health first aid, which is another one on here, but it is more, they refer to it as like the stop, drop, and roll of mental health. And we do have staff members who are trained to provide those trainings, and they do them throughout the year. Another one is the mental health first aid. That's a heavier training. It's like an 8-hour training, but it does help you get the skills you need to deal with like mental health crises. If you're working in any kind of environment where you're in health or an allied health field, you'll probably need to have some of those skills. So this is a place where you can get it for free versus you might have to pay for it elsewhere. And we do have several on our specific team, several people who are certified to teach that class. We also have the Mindfulness Institute for Emerging Adults, another one that Carol can facilitate, the QPR mental health first aid and mindfulness course. But the mindfulness course is one that you'll do. I would really encourage undergrads to do it. It's an hour and 15 minutes, 4 weeks, like one time for 4 weeks. And you just learn how to practice mindfulness. And I'll talk about it in a bit, but that's one of the easiest ways to like try to do some maintenance for your stress levels. And like, it's a fun class. I took it, I've done it twice actually, just to see if it was the same each time. And it is a really good one. If you have questions about it, feel free to email me or Carol. And then the last one on the bottom left is Blue Jays in the Blue Zone. So something that we have learned from our students is that drinking does, like, sometimes poor academic performance or not knowing how to cope with stress can lead to drinking in excess. So we do have a program for anybody who maybe is having trouble learning how to balance it or just is curious, maybe your roommate is having trouble balancing it. We do have programs that are available that can help you learn how to engage with substances safely. That's another one that I would encourage if you're pre-med or allied health in any way. That would be an awesome program to look into, and I can send you information about it if you have questions. But being that stress is something that is we frequently hear from students is that being like one of the reasons they want to like let loose on the weekend. It feels like an important one to mention. And then we can move on to the next slide. Okay, so to give context, because I feel like stress gets kind of a bad rap, and it's not always great. I have something else to add to that in a minute, but just to give an idea of what the stress response actually is it's rooted in our survival instincts. So one of the things that we try to do is try to change the relationship that y'all have with stress, where we don't expect you to be stress-free all the time. In fact, that's not realistic. But we do want you to be able to get back to like a good manageable level. So just like very quick overview, the fight, flight, freeze response is our normal. I believe it's referred to as the lizard brain, but like the part of our brain that doesn't do the critical thinking, that does the fight, flight, freeze, fawn response. So it's stress can be in the absence of threat or in the presence of a threat. Typically, what we're experiencing is our body's responding like we're being chased by a bear, but really we just have an exam coming up. So just being able to keep that part in mind when you're going through school and kind of try to remember that stress is not your enemy. It's more of something that you just have to learn to work with. Can help at least through the more stressful times of just recognizing like this is my body's attempt at helping me thrive and survive. And we can move on to the next one. Okay, this is one that you'll probably see a lot of variations of this same graph, but this is one that you're going to see pretty much anytime our office is in front of you talking about stress. So it's the Yerkes-Dodson law. We usually call it just the stress continuum, but it shows the way our performance changes based on our level of stress. So on the far left side, you have boredom. That's like no stress. You're not challenging yourself. You're not growing. You're kind of just coasting, maybe starting to make some not so stellar decisions because you are bored and you need something to do. And then on the far other end, we have burnout. And that is the point we would like to avoid students reaching, but we do tend to see students coming to us once they reach that point. And that's when your stress is so high that your body is responding all the time as if there's a threat when maybe there's not. And you don't really want to be having that response if you're working on a project with your friends. If you're being chased by a bear, that's where that response will come into play. But usually when we're sitting somewhere working on an exam or even just like hanging out with our friends, we want to stay somewhere towards the middle there. So in between is the comfort zone and then the distress zone on either side. Those are kind of like the warning signs. That's like the yellow blinking light of you're running low. It's time to do some intervention. In the middle is where we would like you to be able to spend as much time as possible and get back to when you're not. This is where your performance is optimized, your learning, it's the growth and learning zone. Your stress level is high enough that you're staying engaged and active, but low enough that you're able to still learn things. Once you're reaching like the exhaustion, anxiety, panic, fear, your brain's in survival mode. It's not retaining nearly as much information as it does earlier on. So you will see this. I can guarantee you'll see this graph at least one more time. If I present in front of you, you'll for sure see it again. But just this is something to keep in mind that we don't expect you to stay in the optimal zone, but we do want to help you figure out how to get back to optimal once you're not in there. So yeah, if we can go to the next one. Okay, stress management. This is going to be, I just taking it from a more broad, I guess not specifically in the context of professional stress, but I would strongly encourage learning how to manage stress now while you're in college because it doesn't go away in professional settings. And you're going to want to know how to deal with it because it's not fun to have to deal with while you're in that stressful situation. So, this is a great time to learn it. You have a safety net of sorts, and we have some good resources. So, basic prevention, good quality sleep, which we're working on with our students. We have lots of resources there. Consistent physical activity, and I'm emphasizing physical activity. It doesn't need to be lifting weights in the gym. walking for 30 minutes a day can be that physical activity. It's more just making sure your body's moving. Practicing mindfulness, which we have a few services for that one. A few that I mentioned on that slide before, but then also this lovely screenshot to the right of the college collection. All of our students have access to a free premium subscription through the Calm app. There's a whole section of meditations specifically geared towards college students. They're like under 15 minutes, so you can do it in between classes or depending on your schedule. You can do it throughout the day. You can do them at home. They're short, but they're also a really good way to start practicing mindfulness. And it's more in touch with what students are actually experiencing versus there's some generic ones that are out there that are also amazing. There's sleep stories on there. Harry Styles can read you a bedtime story. LeBron James also reads one. There's a bunch of famous narrators, but then there's also some just like great sleep stories on there. So Calm will help with sleep and mindfulness. I can't encourage it enough. I use it every night, and I'm not just saying that as a selling point. I genuinely do. It's a great app. It's also like $80 a year, and you're getting it for free. So like you might as well use it while you have it. And then also the self-care, self-maintenance schedule. This when we were talking about self-care, you're not having to like do these elaborate spa days. It's not some fancy like event. It can literally be, I'm gonna stay in and I'm gonna watch a stupid movie tonight, or brushing your teeth for the days when things are really hard. But just doing things to take care of yourself and trying to keep a schedule or a routine for that. Our most popular, oh, and then mindful time management, which we have lots of resources for that. I know student success also does, and I believe maybe Life Design had some, or it may have been one of the other offices. But there's a lot of really great time management resources available, and then our office also has them. Saying no is the one that is a popular starting point and one of the things that students tend to dislike the most. But acknowledging like when you're at your limit, that's okay. You can say no to things. And then you can come back and do those things later. Maybe you have 4 years, so don't feel like you have to do everything at once. So yeah, our popular starting points that we see with students are going to be setting your sleep routine, staying active, and just saying no. And at the bottom there, I have a little challenge for y'all. Try to pick a stress management technique that you and your friends can do together once a week. It could be like you go sit in the grass and play catch with a ball, or it can be something like fun, whatever works best for your speed. That would be, I would say, making plans is a great one, but also the social support that comes with spending time with your friends is also really valuable. So next slide, please. Okay, so tips for managing your stress. First one's going to be proactive. Don't wait until your stress levels are out of control. Do the prevention stuff. That's the things listed on the slide before. It can also just be like, I don't know, maybe reading a fun book is your relaxation method. That can be it too. It's self-care, and like managing your stress level looks very different depending on the person, but definitely be proactive. Use your resources before you get to the point of like needing support. Obviously, if you reach the point of needing it and realizing that you did, still come talk to us, please. But just, yeah, if you can avoid waiting until it's negatively impacting you, that would be ideal. Finding your fit is another thing. So it's going to be some trial and error to see which methods are the best fit for you. Things that might work for your roommate won't necessarily work for you. That's okay. Just try other things. Seeking social support. So being around friends, there's a lot of evidence that that decreases stress levels and improves emotional resilience as well. So getting that social time, co-working or like body doubling also does seem to achieve similar responses. So even if you have a lot of work to do, just like doing it with your friend nearby, that can help. Be kind to yourself. This one is one that I get a lot of not pushback, eye rolls, but it's easier said than done. I recognize that. never say something to yourself that you wouldn't say to your friend. So if you're like super in over your head on coursework and you're really stressed out, if you wouldn't go tell your friend this is your fault because you didn't get ahead of it on time, don't say it to yourself either. Just try to be nice to yourself. Self-talk has a really big impact on our stress management and mental health in general. Sleep. We're going to be, if you haven't already been annoyed by us about sleep, you will be. This is one of the ones that we are constantly trying to get students to work on. I have lots of resources if you're interested in like setting a sleep routine or working on your sleep quality. We have There's no shortage of information there. And then staying nourished. So making sure that you're eating enough. It's difficult, especially when you live on campus and you have to like make it to the dining halls to get your food, but keeping snacks around even for the time periods, maybe you have a 30-minute break between classes, not quite enough time to go get a full meal, but having a snack in your bag might help. Um, it gives your brain what it needs to keep functioning, and it's also going to help you feel a little bit less stressed. We can go to the next one. Okay. This is like the I don't know, highlight, I think, for our students. So we have well-being coaching, and this is one that where stress management and proactivity, where that's concerned, we've seen a lot of students come through and make great progress with their stress management, time management by working with our well-being coaches. So we have 4 coaches that are certified. I am one of them, and then the 2 other members of our health education team are, and then our executive director is also certified. So you have 4 people you can choose from to go do coaching sessions. And what a coaching session is going to look like is very much led by what you want. So obviously, if you come in and have some super off the wall plan of some behavior change that's not in your best interest, we might let you know that. But for the most part, it's going to be what feels important to you. What goal do you want to set? And then how can we get you there with tools that you already have? Most people have the strengths and the skills that they need. It's just learning how to use them. And then also just like making sure that what we're doing aligns with our values. It's way easier to stay focused on stuff when you care about it. So talking them through that way also helps. And then they can be virtual or in person. So 2 of our coaches are on the East Baltimore campus. You can meet with them in person if you wanted to go over there. Virtual is an option. And then the same is true for Homewood. 2 of us are at Homewood, but we can also do virtual if you just like aren't feeling like going out for the day. One thing that I do want to stress is that we are not confidential resources. So we, all 4 of the coaches are mandated reporters, only throwing that out there in advance so that you can't take back what's been said. But if you do have something and you want to talk to a confidential resource, we can connect you to that. But we're private, so we won't go like telling everybody your business, but we are mandated reporters. The QR code will take you to a link to schedule a booking session with us, or you can email me if you just have other questions. We can go to the next slide. Okay, this is a lot on one slide, but it's kind of all of the resources shoved together. So if you go to wellbeing.jhu.edu, this bar that shows what type of resource are you looking for it'll pop up like on the homepage. If you click each of those little icons, it'll take you to a page that is all of the university resources for that element of well-being. So if you're looking for professional well-being resources, you can go to that page, click that little purple circle with the briefcase, and it'll give you all of the resources. And you can filter it by school or by campus. There's a ton of ways to look through it. But that is one that Hopkins doesn't have a shortage of resources, so it can be a lot to navigate. So that just makes it a little easier. Our office, the email for us is wellbeing@jhu.edu. Mental health services and primary care, it's the same phone number to call to schedule with either one of them. And then timely care is virtual medicine, but also teletherapy in case you're struggling and you aren't able to get into the students or the mental health services in the timeline that you're looking for. Calm.com. And then the last one that I want to highlight is the behavioral health crisis support team. So they are 24/7, 365 days mobile crisis response unit for mental health emergencies anywhere within the Hopkins security perimeter. So anywhere where you see the people with the yellow security vests, they'll respond to that area. They don't immediately deploy. You can call and ask them, like they kind of triage over the phone, but they will physically respond if it's needed and they'll help get you through any crisis. And they don't ask about like university affiliation as long as you're in the radius, they're happy. That QR code will take you to a link tree that has links to all of these services in case that makes it easier. But yeah, we can move on to the next slide. I think this will be, yeah. 4 Instagram accounts that you can follow. Peep are my peer health educators. They make really good content. I don't usually touch it, so it's actually kind of like, it's usually funny. Active Minds is this mental health student org. JHU Wellbeing and JHU Mental Health Services are like official university accounts. So those two have a more professional look, but they'll connect you to resources and all the information you could possibly need. And then the Active Minds and Peeps are both student groups. So they're peer-to-peer instead of it being more like official. And we can slide to the next one. Okay, yeah. So this is just the contact information again. Our office is in the rec center. You can email us generally at wellbeing@jhu.edu, or you can email me directly at mtassin1@jhu.edu. And then our peer educators, if you have questions that you don't really want to ask a staff member, you can email them. I personally give them all their training, so I can tell you they know what they're talking about. Yeah, that's it. We can go to the last slide. And then that's the wheel that I mentioned at the beginning, the elements of well-being, and then just contact information again. But thank you.
Great. Thank you so much to our panelists. So now we can stop sharing and we'll open this up to any questions that you all have, anything that you want to know from health promotion and well-being or from our life design lab about career stuff, managing stress, resources, stuff like that. And then Miriam, if you don't mind just going to the next slide, that would be great. Thanks. I know there is one question that came in about what to do if a friend may seem overly stressed and you'd like to call an emergency service like 911. How quickly do they usually respond? And I know, Megan, you were talking about that other mobile
Yeah.
crisis. So if you could talk more about that.
Yeah. Typically, like emergency response to campus is usually pretty quick. We're surrounded by firehouses, and then there's a hospital with an ER like a block away from us. So we're pretty fortunate on that front. Like ambulances can get there quickly. But with BHCST, they always have a at least one person on campus 24/7. So if you were to call the BHCST line, they would be able to immediately talk on the phone. And then if they decide that like a physical visit is warranted, they'll hop in the car and drive straight to you. Usually, from what I've gathered, it's like 10 minutes on a long trip. We also have a student org on campus that's called Hero, and this is more like they might be dispatched on behalf of somebody. It's a team of fully trained EMTs, advanced and basic, and their response time on campus is 3 minutes. So if you're like in a spot and you need them and you call Hero, they can be there in 3 minutes. If you call public safety, they will dispatch Hero anyway. But I would say if your friend is really struggling, BHCST would be a good place to start. But if it's something where like when in doubt, just call 911. They'll get there quite quickly. Baltimore City has a really good response time for a majority of their emergency services. So yeah, you'd be in good hands.
Thank you, Megan. And again, just a reminder, these slides will be posted on our website. So the number for that mobile number and all the resources is going to be posted in just a couple of days. So you'll be able to save it to your phone. Ashley, I think there's one for you. Can you talk more about career assessments and if they're available to students?
Sure, I will. I believe what you're asking about is like assessments that give you an indication of what type of jobs that you might be best suited for. If I'm misunderstanding what you mean by assessments, please drop that in the chat. But overall, I would say we don't typically leverage um, career assessments, mostly because we have found them to be not as effective in giving students the guidance and direction that they're looking for. In fact, it tends to pigeonhole students a little bit further into some buckets that they're already self-selecting into. Our primary goal here is to help you explore. We have a number of resources that can help you do that. Some through governmental websites where you can explore different careers and figure out the skills that are most valuable, the interests, what the day in, day out kind of looks like. We really encourage you to come meet with your life design educator to just talk through some of this. A lot of what we do is designed to help you with that exploration and imagining possibilities. And we're always going to encourage you to speak with alumni. We'll help you figure out how to connect with alumni, how to do the reach out, how to kind of structure those conversations to make the most out of them, because there's nothing like learning from people who have walked your path before you. And they might be able to open doors for you, whether that's introducing you to new careers or actually making some connections for internships or jobs, especially since somewhere around 70% of jobs are obtained through networking or, hidden networks. So we want to make sure that you're able to really tap into those spaces.
Thank you so much, Ashley. Um, Megan, for you talking about the holistic wellness, and then like I know you spoke a little bit about physical, is there anything for weight management?
Well, Megan, you're on mute.
Thank you. Currently we're working on one program right now that's about like physical activity and making it more of like a lifestyle medicine type of thing. I don't know that our providers currently are able to prescribe like any kinds of weight management medications. If they can't, they would just refer to a clinician in the community that can. But we have a nutritionist or a dietitian. We also have like a fitness, there's personal trainers, but there's also like fitness classes. The rec center is incredible. There's a lot of ways to stay active. And then if it's more about like making the behavior change, that we can do with coaching. But like, I guess the distinction would be like with coaching, it would be helping you find the motivation to do the things you've decided or that you've worked on with a clinician. And our clinicians are able to help with like lifestyle medicine stuff. So there is weight management options, just not and not like the GLP-1 quite like not to that level yet. That might happen in the future, and that if it does happen, I'll make sure to let Emily know so that she can pass that information on. But yeah, there are a lot of options for it.
Thank you, Megan. Um, so this one is talking about Health 101 session with students who are on the pre-med track, signing up for 201 this fall, but wondering if they need to attend 101 session. I think this is referring to pre-professional advising. Ashley, are you aware of like pre-health 101 or 201 to talk about this?
Slightly. Is attending
Yes,
one-on-one
not.
session as a prerequisite before 10. Okay. And was unable to sign up for pre-health 101 session last year. I'm not really sure what the barrier might have been. I know that these sessions are offered a few times a year, but they're going to be offered again really early in the fall semester. So it's possible that the sophomore can hop into the 101 and then immediately join 201 after that. I would encourage them to reach out to the Office of Pre-Professional Advising. There is a tab on their website around how to schedule an appointment with how to get in touch with a pre-professional advisor for further guidance.
I can put that email in the chat as well. But yes, I think they're pretty understanding of sometimes schedules get mixed up, but we're actually going to have pre-professional advising talking at our next Hop Back In
Oh,
webinar.
I
So
love them.
So good plug here. Our next Hop Back In webinar is going to be held August 12th at 7 p.m. So we will be having our lead office talking about leadership opportunities, student government, stuff like that. And then as well as our pre-professional advising office. So that's a really good place to ask as well. And again, I'm going to put their contact information in the chat here. But if those are all the questions, I just want to thank our panelists again for their time and being so gracious with their time and sharing about the resources and information about their offices. Contact information is on the slide. Just a reminder that the recording and our slides will be posted in the next couple of days where you found the registration link. And then please be sure to join us for our next Hop Back In webinar. So thank you, everyone. Have a good night.